नमस्कार दर्शकवृन्द, आज हामी कार्यक्रम समाज र संस्कृतिमा कुरा गर्न गइरहेका छौँ कौशल्या अभयविक्रमा, जो एकजना स्वतन्त्र पत्रकार हुनुहुन्छ, त्यसै गरी नेपालको र दक्षिण एसियाको र त्यसै गरी विश्वकै जुन अहिले चलिरहेको यो शान्ति तथा विकास र त्यसै गरी कन्फ्लिक्ट सम्बन्धमा उहाँले अध्ययन गरिरहनु भएको छ नेपालको त्रिभुवन विश्वविद्यालयबाट। वेलकम टु आवर प्रोग्राम। Today we have our guest Kaushalya Abeywickrama, who is a freelance journalist and author and also a researcher, and currently she is doing her second master's and the third semester is undergoing in Tribhuvan University, and her major subject is conflict, peace and development studies, and which is related to Nepal, South Asia as well as the whole world. So mainly we are going to talk with Mrs. Kaushalya about the women's participation in politics, including Nepal, South Asia and the whole world. Mrs. Kaushalya, welcome to our program.
Yes, thank you.
You are recently enrolled in the Tribhuvan University for your second master's, right?
Yeah.
So how you are researching about the women's participation of Nepal in politics. Till now, what your research findings show about the women's participation in Nepal?
Yeah. Thank you, Sobha, for the invitation today. I'm doing my third semester in Tribhuvan University in conflicts, peace and development studies. I started this degree, my second master's in Rohana University, Sri Lanka. So while the time I'm just doing my third semester in Tribhuvan University from a scholarship. So I was interested because I have published my second book in as the realistic change with 200 years of history in Sri Lankan politics and with the good governance, and my hopes are there. So from that, so I'm so concerned about political communication and the politics, especially this being a female journalist and authors. I'm so concerned about the women participation in politics as well as women empowerment and the women leadership. So in that case, in Sri Lanka, we recently in last year 2017, there's a bill approved by Parliament to women participation 25% in politics. So, but when I come to Nepal, so I was just searching about it. Then only it comes there's a women participation because it's a major topic in politics these days. And when I was searching about the women participation in Nepal, I got to know like 2006, Nepal has been approved the bill, and Nepal is far more from Sri Lanka. But when we think about the women participation in politics, I'm so proud to say that Sri Lanka is the country first produced the first women Prime Minister to the world. So Mrs. late Sirimau Bandaranaike. So even though she was the Prime Minister in 1960, then her daughter, Chandrika Bandaranaike, was the 11th executive Prime Minister in Sri Lanka in 1994. So even though we couldn't approve the bill to the women participation in Sri Lanka because Mrs. Chandrika Bandaranaike was in power twice as the executive president, but only recently in 2017 finally bill approved, and now we are going to test it and experience it in 10th of February. Now local election is going to be held in 10th of February. Then only we can experience how it will be in Sri Lanka. But I got to know Nepal now have come a long way from 2006 to 2007, means 11 years. But when we compare with the Sri Lanka and Nepal, I'm a bit curious to know why Nepal is lacking to produce active executive power women participation, and still when I see as a country in Nepal, during my stay, I was just so concerned about the women and children. So I could see a lot of lacking in Nepal. Such as gender discrimination, and the women empowerment, and the sometimes domestic violence, and there's a lot of middle classes ladies, they are husbands, mostly they are not widows, but their husbands have left them with children. So they are suffering and struggling, and they are working so hard, and sometimes when I see them, I'm really shocked, because this is the country, there's a Buddha born place is Nepal.
Yeah.
That's in Asia. So it is really heart touching, and as Sri Lankan, our country also, there's a Buddhist country, but Buddha didn't born in Sri Lanka, but we are following his philosophy. And so Buddha gave the freedom to women. This first we heard in history, this women got the freedom through Buddha's teaching and the preaching. So there's who are practicing that his teaching and preaching as far more developed and from the women side. So around the world, like in India, Indira Gandhi and the Sonia Gandhi, so many people in the politics, and Sri Lanka, so like that. But in the Nepal is still, women are suffering and struggling for their day-to-day life, and just hard working for little pay. So it gave me a wake-up call. That's Kaushalya. While you're staying in Nepal, you have to make it a fruitful stay, and you have to do something to Nepal, and raise women in Nepal to talk to them their heart. So for that vision, I start this research to do, but it is like still in a primary level. So I have to do a lot more activities on that. But we will discuss again about it with my findings and the final conclusion.
In Nepal, as you told us that constitution has given the rights for the women, but they are not in the proper, they are not in a state to hold those positions. But I think in Sri Lanka, women are more educated, they are more in a advanced state than the Nepalese women, but you have just got 25% of the whole that positions of the politics. So what do you think that what are the major things that is making differences, like why Nepalese women are not in those positions that you want to see?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, that is really, I don't understand why Nepali women are not very active in politics. But I feel like in young generation, when I'm talking to young generation, they like to, there's a brain drain. They are migrating to the overseas. So they don't they don't have this motivated lifestyle to fight for the country, fight for their rights. So when I'm talking about their rights, they're thinking, so if how do I alone fight for this right? So then it is not the answer, I think, because
there could be some major factors behind such a condition, like poverty, education, political situation, and the social circumstances.
Yes, I agree, but those are not the excuses.
Okay.
Because I can provide you the example. Aung San Suu Kyi, she has to sacrifice her whole life for the democracy of the country, because that's we know Myanmar has a military government, and she has to sacrifice her marriage life. Even she couldn't see her husband's death. She couldn't participate, but she was fighting alone by herself. Even the people was then when she started her fight, then people gathered, because there are so many needy people who need the democracy, who need to protect their rights. Even this through CEDAW and human rights law, this talking about the gender equality and the women rights, but this can we say that women has the freedom? So poverty and education, maybe financial circumstances and political corruptions, maybe there's a threats, there's a ill treatment, everything is there. Now even Chandrika Bandaranaike as the president, she has to face that. Even Aung San Suu Kyi has to face that. In Sirimau Bandaranaike, Prime Minister has to face that. So we have to overcome the challenges and fight for rights, because if you stand today for against against violence, against discrimination, so then there will be a people to hold your hand and take you front. But I believe personally Nepal needs a lot of women organizations who encourage women leaders and who motivate them to talk about their rights and the fight for women rights, and be the main actually participatory politicians, because being a women politician is not a matter. It can be happen, but being an active politician is the problem, and the participation and the what then now I can give you a world example. Rwanda has the world, I can say, the worst genocide right, in 1990, but in 1994 when genocide end, there was a big women role behind that. So then after now it has become the 64% women politicians participants in the politics in Rwanda, not only.
Okay, is that the highest percentage in the world?
Yes, it is the highest percentage, and in 2013 Rwanda won the women political participant award also. Now I think there's a 23% from the world marching. There's a Rwanda is the high 64%. There's a keeping the.
So it has even overtaken other developed countries like Europe and America.
Yeah. Yes.
So do you think that there should be politics in women representation?
Of course, yes, because it is indirectly or directly. Without women participation, this world won't be a beautiful place. This world won't be a developed place, I would say. See, there's when we see that in Nepal, there's because Prince Siddhartha could become the Lord Buddha because of the sacrifice of Princess Yasodhara and the Prajapati Gautami Devi, and Jesus could crucify because of the Mother Mary's sacrifice. So this whole world has the major two beliefs like Buddhism and the Christianity. So that also happened because of the women's sacrifice. And in a family, as a woman, this is how many things we have to do, right? This everything belongs in the woman's hands. The husband is going to earn money. He is in the patriarchal society in South Asian, mostly just we give the first place to the husband. Even though there's a more than husband, how many things women do? There's she has to protect the culture, tradition, religion, and the family, values, norms, beliefs, and produce the children to the generations, and protect the social values, and whatever the discrimination in between the family, she has to bear everything. But if she has to, she is the one who's get up early in the morning, she is the one who is going to the late night on the bed, and still her day-to-day life activities won't be counted. Yeah. So she is contributing a lot more than a man to a family and the society. So that's even in a household we have the politics, right? So in that politics, who is the leader? Indirectly, when we see there's a women, there's a mother of the house is the leader, right? There's doing the politics. If she can manage her house properly, why she cannot manage her country properly? That's the best example is the Rwanda. Yeah, because in like after 10 years, it's Rwanda. There's is the best example who is forgiven and the forgotten, because now we cannot find people hate each other. Even they are working like sisters and brothers who killed my family members, but they have totally forgotten that this person has killed my wife or my husband. They are working together. There's a peace building process. There's a women is a main role. Now in the world, in South Asia, we have to practice, we have to let lot of women, more women to participate in politics to develop the countries. Because there are two reasons I can say. One is that women has the soft corner for everything.
Okay.
They are not aggressive. That's because we are talking about always conflict and conflict transformation. So address the root causes is really difficult. Now, Sri Lanka also has a 30 years of bitter war, and the Nepal also same had the conflict. So after conflict, if we are trying to address the reconciliation, and if we are trying to approach the development, so we have to make a positive peace building. So without positive peace building, we cannot approach the development. So when the root causes are there, for best answer is the more women participation in the politics, then they can change, because they don't keep the hatred and they are not aggressive much. So even for the corruptions is the good, because when women are in power, they don't ask bribes like then if normally in South Asian countries we know as women, and if we want to get a job in government sometime, we have to give the sexual harassment, right? Then it won't happen if there's a women in power, because then female can get the freedom to work freely, and we can just violate. Like in 2006, Rwanda, they approved the gender violation act in parliament because of women participation. Then they had, in 2009 they had the labor law, approved the labor law act in parliament, because there's a breastfeeding mothers has to work for more than 45 hours, and 13%, more than 13% they are working. So then because they are women leaders, they understood their pain and the feelings, right? So they fought for their rights. So then normally in Rwanda, there's annually 18,000 girls females are suffering from the illegal abortions. So in 2012 they approved the act in parliament. Then they legalized the abortions. If there is any sexual harassment or rape cases close to that, if a girl has to do a abortion, so it is legalized now. That's how it could come, because women feel the women pain, right? And the women know the weight we have to bear as women, and in the society and the house.
Okay. If that is so, why you think that in a state like United States, Hillary Clinton was struggling very hard to win the election, yet she couldn't, where there is the total freedom for the women? What do you think the major cause behind that?
Well, actually, I will tell you my personal opinion, because when we are think about the Europe already developed. America already developed, and they have this legal system and well proper governance. So then it is like not like South Asia, not like Asian countries. There in the US, women are not struggling. That is, gender equality is there. Women and men rights are, male and female rights are equal. So in that case, they have to equally face the election and equally fight for that. So that is the reason, but not like Asia. So in America, USA, so like UK, they don't want to fight for the power, and they don't have to struggle for the power, because they have the equal places, not like Asia, because we still don't have equal places. Even in Sri Lanka, we don't have equal. We are talking about the equality, but we don't have.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kaushalya Abeywickrama, for your precious time for Nepal Television and our program. With this, we end up today's program. We had a very good discussion with Mrs. Kaushalya about the women's participation in politics. Why is it important? Why is should be applied in Nepal, in South Asia, and the whole world? So, in next week, we'll come up with a new topic. Goodbye and namaste.